Hey guys, Akio here. If you guys maybe remember, some time ago I did a video about performative anime fans, about people who don't really engage with the material they're claiming to be fans of, that buy figurines, they decorate the rooms in colors, they decorate the rooms in anime character posters, what have you, but they don't really consume the product. They don't really buy the product. They don't really watch. Well, I mean, they buy the figurines, but they don't really watch the anime. They don't read the manga. They don't really engage with the thing directly. They just, well, vibe, I guess, could be the proper word here. And I thought that this phenomenon is more or less limited to the anime fandom, where the vibes are very strong. And since anime has gone mainstream, we have more and more of these performative fans. But I didn't actually know how bad things really are. There's been a lot of conversations around this recently in the gaming community very broadly. And also we have 1348 ex voto that seem to be suffering from that very problem from day one until, I mean, it's not going to shut down because it's a single player game, but until the single player that still plays the game shall remain, as has been the case in the past with Concord. So I talked about performative fans, but today we're going to be talking about fans that don't actually even exist. Yes, we have achieved this interesting level of consumerism that the consumers don't even want to consume the product. It's absolutely fascinating. It's not only the post-scarcity society, but the rot-maxing society as it seems. And as I said, ex-voto seems to be the newest victim of this trend. So 1348 ex-voto, they reported having 250,000 wishlists on Steam. Amazing. That's actually a lot. And then when I looked at their account at some point, I saw they have 13k followers, almost 14k here. Now that has obviously increased since people reported about it the last time. It was, I think, 12k or 11k at the very beginning. Now it's almost 14k. And so we have this 250k thousand, we have 13k. And then we look at the Steam charts, and the Steam charts are like this. Now, a lot of people who are upset about Steam charts are quickly going to point out, why would you be looking at Steam charts? The Steam charts just show numbers. The numbers don't reflect the quality of the game. Well, yes and no. There's a lot of, genuinely, there's a lot of games out there that I think are fairly decent. A lot of them, unfortunately, are online games, in which case the player count is especially very, very relevant. But there's a lot of single player experiences out there that might not have amazing player count numbers, but nevertheless are worth buying, even maybe not discounted if they're really good. And they have positive reviews and stuff. That is the other counter, positive, negative, mixed reviews on Steam. So you might want to buy this game, because why not? It looks interesting, it matches your tastes, absolutely go for it. However, Steam numbers are absolutely relevant when you're talking about a game that had thousands of followers on social media, 250,000 wish lists on Steam, and ended up with, lo and behold, 427 players on day one, and dropping. Surely, steadily but surely, as you can see here, down to a 52 player peak, and 31 players still kind of, trudging away and playing the game. I guess probably an hour a day or something and just trying to finish it, because my god, is it a slog? But yeah. I think the reason why I'm bringing up the numbers here, especially, we're going to go into some other details, but the reason why I'm bringing up the numbers here at this point is because social media currency and the likes and follows and wish lists, they have become a very important factor for AAA game companies. They have become an important factor in also other industries where people no longer look at something that's actually relevant, like sales, actual orders, actual purchases, like pre-orders, for instance, purchases, people actually playing the game. Player retention, how long they're playing the game, how many people are playing the game daily. Is the number steady? Is the number increasing? We add more marketing. Are the numbers increasing or decreasing? These are actual concrete numbers that tell you about the health and the success of your product. Now, unfortunately, following stuff on social media doesn't. As much as companies would like to believe that giving something a like, giving a post a like, especially the one here, as I mentioned with the 200, look at this, like 3,000, almost 3.5k likes this post got, quite a bit of bookmarks, 511 comments as well, and so many views on this, like 760k. That's absolutely a lot. And then 250k wishlist. You would think that this is going to directly correspond to some kind of measurable success. Even if you, for instance, make like assumptions, like typical marketing assumptions, okay, it's not going to be 100% purchases. It's maybe going to be, let's say, 10%. Well, 10% would be 25k. 10% was not 25k. 10% was, sorry, 10%. The actual number ended up being 427 because it's so much easier for people to engage with something on social media. Like, think about this for a moment. How much effort does it take to actually like a post on social media? Nothing. How much effort does it take to click the add to wishlist button on Steam? Absolutely nothing. Now, how much effort and actual real life currency does it take to actually buy the game? It does. See, here's the exact problem with this system. If you just look at engagement, you are not actually going to get real numbers for absolutely anything in this current climate. Especially that now I'm going to go into a very interesting topic that I've been seeing recently. And also, just to point out, 1348xvoto had rather mediocre reviews on Metacritic, and even the critics didn't really like the game. So it was more or less a complete failure. But anyway, the thing I want to talk about is this, the performative pandemic. I'm not the only person making videos about this. I'm not the only person interested in the topic. So I said at the very beginning, this is an ongoing problem in weeb communities, in gacha spaces, in anime communities. Manga no one reads anymore, so people don't really talk about this. But in anime communities, people create all of these like gimmick accounts on X, for instance, to draw engagement. They themselves never really engage with the product itself. Therefore, no one's really watching, no one's really reading, and you will see that, and no one's really gaming anymore, apparently, even though acquiring games have become even more affordable thanks to Steam than it has been in the past. And then you have magical exchanges like this one. What the fuck? You can't find $5 and you call yourself a man? I'm embarrassed for you. If you don't know the context here, this is talking about Resident Evil, which has become the focal point of all of these weird exchanges recently. So I'm going to admit straight away, I know of Resident Evil. I have played probably the first one a long time ago. I have played Code Veronica quite a bit, but the one that I've played probably the most was Resident Evil 4. Really enjoyed it, played it several times on both normal and hard difficulty, and I played a bit of Resident Evil 5. So I am familiar with the franchise. I will not at any point claim massive expertise, which I simply do not have. But there's a lot of people who want to engage like very specific dialogue about the game. They want to claim they're fans of the game, but then they come up with responses like this. Let's Plays are free, $99. Yeah, you don't actually need to play the game in current modern times. All you have to do is just watch a playthrough, and then you're the biggest fan ever. Why buy a product when you can just watch the product exist, right? You're absolutely driving the economy of the social media currency, but they're not driving the actual economy anywhere. Why would we buy games we can just watch them for free instead? What are we doing here? And just to point out, there are more people like this. Absolutely, that is absolutely happening. Like this one here, Starlight Mundas. I have to say, Starlight, I've seen some of their posts recently. I can't believe that they're 26 because they talk like someone who's either 16 or just completely mentally broken. the worst takes possible. This is one of the many of them. You don't have to play the game to be a fan. The mentality of having to play or like something to be a fan is both ableist and does reek of classicism. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you don't actually have to do anything to be a fan of the thing. You can just exist. And I think this one is very telling because I'm pretty sure this person is going to get a lot of flack on social media exactly for this post, but like just read it aloud. Say it again. Social media ruin hobbies by turning them from something you do out of love and genuine enjoyment, which a lot of us still do, into something you do for the spectacle and attention. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm cycling back to the performative anime fan who does not engage with the product, doesn't engage with the art, it engages with the vibes. And they do it specifically for the spectacle and attention because they constantly talk about this on social media, but they never watch the anime. Ever. No, it's actually quite the opposite. They think the anime is problematic. Yes, you see, there's a risk that someone else might go on social media and tell them they're a bad person trademark, and therefore they can't tell anyone, even if they were watching the anime, but obviously they will not watch the anime because it's DD blood, lolly, pedo stuff, absolutely horrible, and problematic quotation marks. Therefore you shouldn't watch it. Please do not even search for it, don't watch it. People who are guilty get very mad when you point it out because they know it's true. Because they're sitting in bed, rot maxing, and just watching clips of their favorite show and vibing instead of actually engaging with it. And I think this one's also really funny. You can enjoy books and games and movies in alternative ways and still be a fan. It's interesting that all of those alternative ways revolve around lying in bed, half watching video essays, or just even listening to them, made by mentally ill people while, hey, I take this one very personally, checking gacha dailies and getting groomed over Discord. Well, I hope you are not getting groomed over Discord. This is absolutely horrific. But yeah, the point stands, right? And then there was this very fascinating exchange from Lavender here, who I have to say is a thinker, absolutely a thinker, kind of like some of these posts here. I did actually retweet one of them, but this one is already a great start. This recent stuff about just playing Resident Evil games is eye-opening, honestly. I didn't think it was this bad. Just how much of gaming discourse over the last decade was steered entirely by people who don't play games and just engage in fandom spaces. They don't actually even engage in fandom spaces, they infiltrate them, and then they tell you how problematic the hobby you're engaging in is. And I think this person here earlier, Starlight, is a typical example of this. I think I had one more post from them somewhere. Not in this one, apparently. But they're now talking about how Nikkei is extremely problematic and sexist. And it's actually for the girls or stuff like this. It's, yeah, complete brain rot, makes absolutely no sense. But continuing. Hell, how much discourse about anime too? Exactly as I mentioned at the beginning, has hobby discourse just been one big Plato's cave? Have our hobbies and video games been making adjust? And this is the important part that I mentioned. It's not merely the fact that social media currency does not translate to actual purchases. It does not translate to the financial success of a creation of a product. But there's an extra problem to this. Video games been making adjustments and changes. That is true. Entirely based on people who have never gone near what they demand be changed and know actually very little about this. And this is a mix of ignorance, entitlement, narcissism, and typical virtue signaling online, which together forms the perfect mixture, the modern audience. Because the modern audience, as everyone knows by now, they actually do exist. Except they are not even an audience. They do not ever engage with the product. All because it's disrupting their social hangout spaces. It's actually not. And not actually out of any personal investment or knowledge of the thing itself. Why would you be invested, like genuinely invested in anything, where you can just watch someone else be invested. And instead, do you know what these types, where these kind of infiltrators typically do? Why they do stuff like this. Orientalism in the Zelda franchise and the problem of the Gerudo. Yes, they make these amazing educational threads about Zelda and how incredibly problematic it is that our boy Link here is wearing a belly dancer outfit because it reeks of Orientalism. See, you can no longer be inspired by other cultures. It's Orientalism. And these people just go on social media, they talk about these things. They never actually play the game. Now, I'm assuming that person maybe played some of the Zelda games, but I'm not entirely convinced they're a big fan. Who knows, maybe they also pirated them. I have absolutely no clue, I have no guarantee. But what I can tell for sure that they're spending way more time virtue signaling and demanding change in gaming spaces rather than actually playing the damn freaking games. So we have moved in a couple of years from people being upset that anyone's criticizing games when they very clearly introduce censorship, change specifically the female characters, or introduce people of color sometimes, doing race swaps, gender swaps, when it was absolutely unprompted. And people shouldn't be upset, you just need to consume the product. That was in the past. We've moved past this. We've moved to, you don't actually even need to consume the product. Let's just talk about the product, how great and amazing the virtuous product is, or how the problematic products need to be changed to cater to the modern audience. But that is going to be it for this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. またね!